To the podcast, hablemos de lo nuevo. For the G's, by the G's, que pasa en el terreno. Vienen jugadores y se van, traiga lo nuevo. A huevo. Doesn't matter where you from. Salvador, Mexico, Honduras, Nicaragua. Todo mi latino, come and listen for an hour. TikTok, que traemos lo que quiere. Todo lo que pasa dentro y fuera de las redes. Really? You don't know what it is. Reportamos con la lupa what we see at the digs. En las buenas y en las malas yo diré la verdad. Si cometen un error o tienen habilidad, la calidad del rival cuando viene a jugar. Facts. Yo no me muerdo la lengua. Got love for the crest in the city I came from. Los campeones de campeones y con copas mi race. No empezamos el programa, soy la voz de LA One. Soy la voz de LA One. Love. Yeah.
Hello, hola, and buenas, and welcome back to another episode of La Cuna Galaxiana. And man, we are still festive around these parts because today we're going to be reacting to the LA Galaxy's position-affirming 4-2 home win over the Vancouver Whitecaps, a game the G's needed to win to take advantage of the rivals slipping up in the table, and they did not disappoint, and they gave the home crowd something to cheer about on a record-breaking night. And before we go any further, let me introduce myself. I'm one of your co-hosts, Rob Halon. You can go ahead and catch my written work at Extra Time Talk. And just to let you guys know, taking a step back from that editing gig and starting to publish a little bit more. So watch out for those articles dropping soon. The first one is scheduled according to the editors. So watch out for that one. And you guys can always find me online at El Escudero de LA. And of course, you guys know that if I'm here, El Gitano Perdido, el Invierno Guapo, está aquí también para decirles todo lo que pensó sobre esta victoria histórica en Los Ángeles. Anandita Kirana, bienvenido otra vez a este capítulo. ¿Cómo estás, papá? ¿Cómo estás pasando?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good. I feel good, obviously, about this team. I was not at the stadium, so, you know, kind of bummed that I missed that game, and it looked like another amazing game, another amazing home performance. We talked about it, guys, before the last pod. The Galaxy just need to be typical Galaxy, typical 2024 home LA Galaxy, and boy, did we see that again. And you know, they pulled out. It was a pretty professional performance, other than two sloppy goals, which we'll get into, sort of, you know, that piece and things that they can still improve on. But you know, my one word reaction, Rob, is going to be routine. It was a routine home win for the Galaxy, 4-2. It could be typical as well, because, you know, I think I saw a stat like the last three score lines have been 4-2. So hopefully the next one is a 4-2, but going our way, which I don't think it's going to happen. But again, we have some time for that because we do have a bye this week, having played more games than a lot of our opponents. So yeah, just, you know, routine, man, a routine performance at home, keeping the digs a fortress. I mean, what's there to be mad at? There is one thing I'm mad at, but that's neither here nor there. It's events happen on the other side of the pond on Sunday morning.
Did something happen in Manchester?
This is not the pod. Where's Manchester? Anyways, this is not the pod you mean the blue side of Manchester? Yeah. Anyway, so that's neither here nor there. This is not the pod, of course, for that. But so mixed feelings, sporting wise overall, but very, very happy about this Galaxy team. I mean, Robert, historical record-breaking night. We'll talk about all these things, but I mean, guys, like, get excited. Be excited about this team. Be excited with chess. You are more than this team is giving you a platform to do so. And my gosh, I think we're all filled with pride after that weekend.
Yeah, man, it was a fun win. It was one of those wins where you know, you said it was routine. I said I was thinking to myself, it was like, okay, they took care of business. So I don't know if that's a one word reaction, but it's you know what, they taking care of business, and I love it. You know, before we go any further, Ananda, just want to say hello again to the chat. If it's your first time in here, guys, thank you so much for giving us a shot. And you know, if you've been riding with us for a little while, thank you so much. You guys have helped us get to and break those 300 subs. So thank you so much for doing so. And of course, now you know, if you're digging what you're hearing, you guys can go ahead and drop a little donation. So you know, that's buymeacoffee.com/@lacunagalaxiana, or as we like to say around these parts, buy me una horchata, which, you know, you guys know that I'm currently drinking on as per usual. Not strawberry today, but still, you know, it's still tasty. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Man. I'm more of a normal guy. Like, I haven't, you know, I got to try the flavored ones, man. I know El Presi, Andrew was here last time, and he was like, oh man, like, I'd never heard of that. Maybe you're getting me onto something. We should hit him up and see if he's already explored the strawberry horchata route. But I got to explore those flavored routes, man. That sounds super good. Who knows? Maybe when we get a live show one day, El Pescador, like GCam says, like some of the folks in chat say, maybe we'll get some strawberry horchatas on the house as part of the budget.
buckets.
Yeah, exactly.
That'll be a fun show.
We talked about Applebee's too, right? Anyways, before we get off the rails here, let me do my housekeeping.
Already off the rails.
And we'll get the show on the road. But guys and gals, you can always follow me, block me, or stalk me at Ananda Galaxiana. And of course, you can find us on all of our socials at La Cuna Galaxiana. And if this is your first time in chat or you're coming back, welcome. We love you guys. We love having you guys here, and we love all of you guys, and can't wait to interact with you again. This is not Sad Foos Hour. This is not group therapy. This is celebrating this team and all the home victories that they've given us this year and making the digs a fortress. So like Matthew, I believe, Comments 96 said in the chat, campeones de campeones, right? That's what we're celebrating today. And of course, you know, if you want to celebrate this pod and help us out, help this little teeny tiny pod out, shoot us a subscribe, guys. Like, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, so that you can be informed when we come on live and when we have some really, really good guests on. By the way, guys, if you have not checked out our back catalog yet, we've had some, man, looking at this season, Robert, like, we've had some amazing guests on. Check out our back catalog, guys. We had the likes of Tom Bogart on. We had the likes of Sophie the Cannon Nicolau on. We've had the likes of Marcelo Cello Balboa on, man. Like, man, we gotta, you know, we check out our back catalog, guys, because, you know, I
want to drop the heat on him, man. I want to drop it.
You can drop it. You can drop it later.
No,
you can drop it later.
You know what? I'm a firm believer in, like, when it's. I've told you before. You know what? When players get signed, it's like when I see them holding up the shirt, and with this one, like when it's all done and dusted and everything's locked in, I'll drop the heat. But guys, we are working on something big for you. Hopefully it comes off, and hopefully you guys like it. But anyway, and I'm just talking about that back catalog. I mean, this would just be more blessings on that. I mean, like Ananda said, man, we've had some hitters and blessings to them for you know, being gracious with their time. And you know, we even saw this weekend, the homie Marvin that's in chat right now got to meet Marcelo Balboa and got to follow up with him on the question that he had with him here in this very pod. So shout out to Marvin for meeting Cello and dropping our name with him once again. And Marvin was also talking about he also brought up a question, and really quick, I wanted to comment on it. He says, was it me, or was there no ambiente inside El Estadio to commemorate Central American Heritage Night? Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt that, like, you know, they've been doing a really good job with the pre-match music and stuff like that, right? But I felt like on this one, it shouldn't have been, you know, like club music or, like, you know, music, you know, but, like, you know, something Latino.
Yeah, exactly.
Some bachatas, some cumbias and bachatas would have been live. Like, I'm sure we could have gotten, like, you know, an LA-based cumbia band to rock it. But anyway, I mean, they've been killing it all year. Just a tiny observation. But you know what? Like, it'd be great to have those kind of, like, installations for things like this, like Central American Heritage Night and stuff like that. What's it called? Somebody showed the homie homie Edwin, shout out Edwin and Astrid out there. They showed me this DJ Ananda called Deodo, who kind of like mixes like house and like Spanish music, like cumbias and stuff like that. So anyway, something to put you on. But anyway, where were we? We went off the rails again.
Oh, where were we, Rob? Where we always typically are on top of the show when I do my thing, because if I don't do my thing, we can't kick off the show. So, como siempre, antes de olvidarme, Roberto, buenos días, tardes o noches, y bienvenidos a otro capítulo de La Cuna Galaxiana. Vámonos, man. Let's talk about this win. Let's go.
Ooh, let's talk about this one. Before we do, let us know where you're repping from. Let us know what city. Shout out your city. Put on for your city. And then, guys, we already let you know our one word match reactions. Go ahead and drop yours. And let's hit some shout outs. I mean, you already mentioned him. You already mentioned both of them, actually. You already mentioned large Pepsi, Andrew Alasana, and our one and only friend of the show, El Primo, Matthew Pinchback here, Comments 96 in chat. We're gonna have them on Thursday, 9/26 at 9 p.m. So make sure and catch that show. Of course, for anybody that just wants to like be in the know in the community and stuff like that, catch these kind of shows because this is directly from the G's community. So directly from the horse's mouth. Bellflower represents, Downey represents, Apple Valley represents, Oxnard. What's good with it? Thank you so much, guys. El Monte. I was about to just shout out Raulito, but yes, Raulito 96 all day. But anyway, since we are speaking about the homie El Primo, Matthew, Comments 96. Comments 96 is throwing a white party on Saturday, October 5th for the last home game. Wear your best all-white fits. I believe that's Aaliyah on the flyer right there. Can't go wrong with Aaliyah on your flyer for damn sure. So wear your best all-white fits on the 5th. Dress to impress. Make it a memorable occasion. We can't wait to see you out there with those fits, guys. Happy... I was about to say happy birthday to someone, but I just wanted to shout out real quick the South Central G's and the Compton G's. I got to meet them pre-game, Ananda, because one of my oldest friends in the world, Cassandra, she met these folks at a bar across the street from where she works, and she's been a long-standing Galaxy fan. But they were like, you guys should go to a game, and still she met up with them, went to this game, and yeah, man, they were super lovely, accommodating. They were all super nice, and more importantly, they were just like lit up for the Galaxy. So shout out to them, and thank you for the slaps. I have one right here, Ananda. It's the South Central G's slap that they put out right here. And yeah, man, it was really fun meeting those guys, and it's good to see the homegirl Cassandra back in the stadium. Real quick anecdote about her. One time she took a bus, a train, and was on crutches to go to a Galaxy game, and she showed up with 30 rack underneath her arm on crutches. True G, man, for years and years. But anyway, yeah. A shout out to those cats. Okay, now happy birthday to Bruce Arena, the former Galaxy boss, won 3 MLS Cups and 2 supporter shields. Of course, he was the U.S. men's national team coach as well, and we've referenced him a couple of times recently, Ananda. I believe it was he that said win your battles or win your duels, right? So, yep. That's something we've been talking about all year for this defense. Win your battle, win your duels. Cello referenced it, play with pride. You got to be responsible for your man. So, this is, that Bruce Arena influence right there on Cello directly. So anyway, happy birthday, Bruce Arena. Hopefully you had a wonderful day surrounded by friends and family. Happy Armenian Independence Day to all our Armenian G's out there. I hope you had a festive and wonderful day. Shout out, a lot of love from this podcast to that community. And the Ñaños, man, 1-2 threads, bro. They'll never stop dropping heat, man. They just keep on doing it consistently. So we teased their recent drop on the last pod, and it was just like Al Cien, right? But now they have dropped this collaboration with Mauricio Cienfuegos. The Al Cien tee and the bobblehead are now available. $60 for the shirt and the signed bobblehead while supplies last. Guys, go ahead and pick these up, man. These are gonna sell out. You're gonna be super sad that you didn't pick it up. You're gonna be looking for it on Etsy and like, you know, offer up and stuff like that, and gonna be complaining that, you know, some dude is to charge like $500 for it. Just pick it up now. Just pick it up now and support the Ñaños for sure. Shout out to them and of course Bright Nags, Manny from Outlaws, everyone that was involved in that video, man. It was wonderful to see them drop their anecdotes about the Galaxy and you know, show love to a Galaxy legend. Again, my wife got to meet Cien the other day. Super lovely guy. Shout out to him for being available. I can't wait for the El Tanque collaboration with the 1-2. Hopefully that one drops off one day soon. Man, I'm praying. But anyway, shout out to the 1-2 Thread boys. Shout out to all the Galaxy creators, man. They're doing their thing. I mean, the FU drop happened at the stadium this past weekend in Ananda, and I mean, I tried to go pick one up. I was gonna catch the fade from wifey. Like, I was like, I don't care. I'm just gonna get it, and damn the consequences. I'll sleep on the couch. I don't care, right? And I mean, the good Lord, I guess, was looking after me because it was already sold out. Couldn't pick it up. I mean, who knows? Maybe that like I would have caught in like the major fade, and so it would have been bad news. But anyway, shout out to FU for that drop as well. I mean, earlier in other Galaxy drops, you know, we had Move and Silence doing their thing as well. So, man, everyone's just dropping heat. Rich Galaxy fans, I hope you're really rich because you guys are going to need deep pockets for everything that's dropping. Anyway, so go ahead and support 1-2. Go ahead and support VCFC. Congratulations to them for making MLS Next for playoffs in their first season. I don't know if I would say it's their first season in Ananda. I mean, because they, you know, were Galaxy 2, but you know, technically, yes, it's their first season in existence under that name. But happy now. Congratulations to you guys for making the playoffs. That's a monumental achievement. Next up in their season is St. Louis City 2 at home at the Willie Roll Sunday, September 29th. That'll be this Sunday in Ananda at 7 p.m. It is also Fan Appreciation Night. That's we've been saying it all season, man. Maybe it's this Sunday is the night where we go. It's Fan Appreciation Night, so we might need to pull up. It's a little bit on the short end of the season for VCFC at the moment. Only 2 games left after 26 games played, 6 in the standings, 8-10-8 record on 42 points. Of course, that table is super close. So anything's possible here. I mean, I'm assuming they're playing for position as well. So they can with 2 victories here, they can go ahead and potentially climb a couple places in that table, maybe as high as 4th or 3rd. So good luck to VCFC for the remainder of the season. We'll bring you more info and updates on that as it happens. Ananda, this one is one that's polemico, bro. This one dropped today, and Chispas, it cost some Twitter fingers for sure. So much so that you had ex-Galaxy players tweeting about it. But today, the Galaxy, not the Galaxy, today, Corner of the Galaxy announced that Greg Vanney had triggered a 12-month extension in his contract. They'll keep him in charge of the Galaxy through the 2025 season, and that's by virtue of making the playoffs this year. So Vanney has a regular season record of 52, 45, and 36 to date, and has made the playoffs twice in his almost 4 years. His team has scored 222 goals and allowed 218 in that span. The Galaxy are currently first in the West, and I can't read the rest of that tweet. Second in the league with 3 games remaining in the 2024 campaign. That's per Corner of the Galaxy. And then now, and then of course, you know, the news we already brought you, gets a 1-year extension. So of course, you know, this is again polemic out there because a lot of people are still Greg out or don't believe he has anything to do with anything good happening with this team. And so, like I mentioned, former player Sasha Kleshtin then posed this question to all Galaxy fans. Galaxy fans, I'm genuinely curious. How do you feel about one more year of Greg Vanney? Well, Chad, we're going to ask you. How do you feel about one more year of Greg Vanney? It's something that that we've talked about a couple times. We've asked a couple of supporter group presidents. We've asked Tommy Bogart. We've asked Marcelo Balboa how we felt about Vanney's performance. All seem to be generally in favor. But you know what? Now it's official. He has one more year in charge of this team. So love him or hate him, he's here for another year. So no use battling about it anymore. But Ananda, interested to see what you think about this one. It's contract triggered by this player, this performance, this incentive making the playoffs. How do you feel about this one?
I mean, everyone should know how I feel about this one. I feel like I've been defending him for the last 2 years, right? Like, ever since that episode we did with Judge Sophie. I mean, I defended him in her courtroom, Robert, while you were defending, the players or whatnot. But anyways, man, I mean, you guys should know how I feel. But actually, I wanted to pull up because I wanted to have chat sort of sound off on this and have them have their say. So Marvin G says, not mad at that trigger clause. Crespo says 1 year extension deserved. Gcam says deserved. Marvin says merited. Rocio says, I'm okay with another year Vanney. He seems like he's finding his way without Klein. Very, very astute point there. Matthew Comet says, I mean, we could all see doing better, but we were first in the West by a good margin, second in the supporter shield. Crespo then follows up and says, first year being fully focused on the team, and he does this, not bad at all. Raul G says they should have waited to see how it goes in the playoffs.
Good point.
Interesting. But again, I think the minimum remit this year was probably to get in the playoffs. I mean, I think if this team with that roster would not have gotten to the playoffs, that's grounds for dismissal for me, like easy, right? So
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that point up, right? Because with this roster, it's grounds for dismissal, but really, should that have been the benchmark anyway? I read an interesting take on X earlier that claims that that's just how far this team had fallen during the Klein administration, that it was no longer you lose your job if you don't win MLS Cup. I mean, we've seen in the Galaxy's history them fire coaches for being in first place, and so the standard fell to such a point where it was just, hey, make the playoffs and you're golden. It was no longer MLS Cup. So it's a valid criticism. It's a valid observation. Should that have been the benchmark? Should it have been Western Conference Finals? Should it have been something else? Anyway, just a query that I'm going to dangle out there for you, Ananda. Still people out there on X, on Instagram, that are just very anti-Greg and kind of upset about this, but I don't really see a not like a downside, but I don't see how he doesn't deserve it based on the job he's done, right?
Yeah. I mean, whatever. I think it's semantics now. Whether the remit was get in the playoffs, whether the remit was get top four, whether the remit was, I mean, here's the thing, right? Playoffs in a cup competition, that's anything can happen. A team can get completely hot. There's this refereeing decisions that can change the course of a game. There's so many things that can happen. So I feel like that would be, I think, probably a little too harsh for me. But I'm just going to answer this question simply this way, man. You know what my sort of remit is when it comes to sort of identifying a successful head coach and successful manager. And I actually responded to Sasha, and again, this shouldn't be new news to anyone. I've been saying this for a couple pods now, but I responded to Sasha and I said, great. I've argued on our pod that the mark of a great coach is game management and player development. He's shown on multiple occasions to make the right in-game tactical personnel adjustments to win his games. Cerrillo, Aude, and most notably Plek have flourished under Greg Vanney. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I mean, he's done a phenomenal job with all these players, and I feel like as the head coach, as the manager, that is a huge part of your job, is how do you manage games in game? to get wins, right? To turn 1 point into 3 points, to turn 0 points into 1 point. And the other thing is how well do you develop players? And I felt like across the board, he's done I think a stellar job. And the record speaks for itself. The math speaks for itself. And I think it's deserving. I 100% think it's deserving.
Want you to post this one by Galaxy Maniac 562. Says 1 year extension. He shouldn't have been coaching this year. Also something valid to bring up. I mean, at the end of the last year, we got to ask him in pressers, do you feel like you're the guy for this job? Do you feel like you deserve to carry on? And he answered in the affirmative, and he said, like he felt like he was the right man to take this team forward. And he did. He got the opportunity to, and he's done phenomenal. In the moment, I wouldn't have been surprised if they had fired him. And like, was it deserved? Like, it was on the precipice. I don't get paid to make that decision. That's the chef Will Kuntz. Blessings be upon his crown. But the fact of the matter is he didn't get canned. He retained his job, and he has the Galaxy in the first place. And so by virtue of that, I mean, people were talking about this earlier in the Galaxy Landia as well. Like, oh, well, like Vanney's had them win against, teams like Vancouver that were focusing on the Canadian championship. It's like, but you got to play who you're giving.
You can only be what's in front of you.
Yeah,
well, how many times in the last 5 years have we come up with a team that on paper we should have beat and we still didn't? Right? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. So and again, I was going to go back to Galaxy Maniac. I mean, yeah, that's fair. It's your opinion, and I'm going to respectfully disagree with your opinion. But again, that's your opinion, and like Rob said, at the end of last year, I think there was a point there. There was a little point. I was not in that camp. Again, I just respectfully disagree. But look, I think the proof is in the pudding. I think the proof is in the pudding, and the other thing, I've seen this argument. Like, I can go either way with it, but of course, the other thing too is, can you bring in another guy that can guarantee a complete turnaround like Greg did this year, for example? I think at this point last year, again, hindsight is always 2020, but I think at this point last year, I don't know if there's a name out there you could have guaranteed that with the roster coming in and all that stuff that person would have took the Galaxy into first place. We can't really say that either way. So again, I'm just glad that all this is kind of behind us. Greg's the coach for now. He's done a phenomenal job this year. And yeah, man, just can't wait to see now his medal getting tested in the playoffs. That's where the proof is going to be in the pudding. And I hope he passes the test with flying colors.
Yeah, I mean that's the other tweet. That's the other comment out there in chat that I thought was valid. Like maybe they should have waited until the playoffs. See what he done in the playoffs. But it is what it is. It's signed, sealed, and delivered. He has another year, and yeah. So it's Greg Vanney or bust for another year. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm wishing he does well, because he's a real nice guy. And he's never been one of those people that has been hard to interview or talk to. So I appreciate the candor from him. So anyway, he did coach her LA Galaxy to another victory at home. The Galaxy still unbeaten. And before we get into this match, there was plenty that happened before this match. Ananda, do you want to go ahead and take the lead on this one a little bit?
Sorry, I was paying attention to chat. Sort of the lead up into this. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, because you were kind of more stationary and able to watch these matches before the Galaxy match, and I'm referencing LAFC versus Dallas and Portland and RSL.
Yeah. I mean, basically, because I was watching, I know you were on your way to the stadium. I was watching these games at home, and I don't know if any of you guys caught it. I know a lot of you were at the game that were in checks. I can see by all of the all the sidebar conversations that you guys having about pre-match and all that stuff, which is awesome. I love that. You guys go do your thing in chat. But of course, coming into this, right, there was two big games where we would have known, or the LA Galaxy would have known the result coming into that match, right? And so the first one, LAFC playing away at Dallas. It was funny because I was just listening to Corner of the Galaxy before I hopped on here, and Hammer had texted Josh, and he said it was like 97 degrees that the day that they played, right? And it's like typical Texas. Watch, we're gonna have like 100 degrees, Rob, and like 100% humidity when we play at Houston away. It always happens. Doesn't matter if it's September, October, like March. It doesn't matter, right? So just Texas weather is insane. But I was glued to the TV on this one, man, because within 62 minutes, I popped it on the telly. FC Dallas were up 3-0 after 62 minutes. And then, of course, like a late consolation goal by Tuesta made it 3-1. And man, that makes LAFC winless in 5. But like, I would never have guessed that. I would never have guessed that. I think our win against them in El Tráfico had a little bit to do with sort of that downward spiral, right? That downward momentum, right? But yeah, and I even saw Justin Ruderman the other day.
The Galaxy broke them?
Well, remember, I think they had lost. Houston was the start of it when they lost those games, right? And then they played us, and I think that second half comeback definitely shook their confidence. And I wanted to bring this up because I think it was interesting. Like Justin Ruderman, I saw him tweet about this, which is this idea of just Giroud as a DP, not assimilating to that team as well as they had thought of. While we have on the other end, Marco Royce, who's a TAM player, right? Effectively, he's assimilated absolutely perfectly. So it's kind of one of those things too with like recruiting and how well you do in the transfer window. It's not just getting the names, but it's how well does that piece fit within your system. Anyway, so we knew about that result. So I was like, oh, that's good, right? That's a super plus. And then there was this Portland RSL game, which
go ahead. Hold,
okay.
Because I'm gonna tell you how I lived it, because I wasn't watching these games at all. I consciously made the decision to like not even have music on my drive to the stadium, just like completely silent, just kind of like mellowing out with myself and my thoughts.
Solo kumbaya, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Because I knew it was going to be like a very festive atmosphere, and then I mentioned my friend Cassandra. I knew she was going to be there, and then our good friend Gustavo from our Saturday pickup game was going to be there. He was there with his brother. Shout out Gus and Bruno, and then my cousin Danny was going to be there as well. So I was going to take them around a little bit and show them the ropes a little bit. So I was like, okay, I got to do that. So I'm gonna just have me time. So when I got to the stadium, after I did all that with them, and I actually went up to the press box, I get into the press room, and it was like an episode of like a sitcom, because like the crew was there. It was Don Alex Ruiz, el profe, friend of the show. You had Sophie, you had Damien, you had Josh, you had Justin Ruderman, and then a little bit later you had Scott French as well. And they were all huddled around the TV. And then I finally come around the corner and I see what they're watching. And I see it's the 3-0. And I just thought it was like really surreal, because I wasn't expecting Dallas to do that. And so I just like busted up laughing. Not at like the players or like the teams. I just thought like the situation was funny, because you literally had all these reporters around a TV, and because there's big implications in these matches. So
Absolutely.
everybody was watching this, and so I walked into literally everybody watching this match. But anyway, that one, like you said, ended up 3-1. So that was the second piece of the puzzle that fell that day, because earlier in the day, Miami tied with NYCFC off a late NYCFC goal, and so they dropped points in the Supporter Shield race, and that's where you're going to pick it back up with Portland and RSL.
Yeah, well, did you catch the Portland RSL game as well in the press box, or was at that time you were already sort of circling the stadium and trying to meet your folks?
No. It was I was watching like bits and pieces, but I didn't see enough of it to be able to comment on it. Yeah, and mind you all, this is around the time that Ananda sends me a picture of his feet up, very very comfortable with a glass of wine. So he was having.
Oh yeah, I was absolutely loving life at that point, especially after this result. So again, I'm going to pull it up on the screen, guys. But I don't know if any of you guys caught this maybe in the highlights or even live, but man, what a cracker of a game. Again, all these games with Portland, Rob, if they're going to be our first round opponent, I'm going to be a little worried. I'm not even going to lie, because this team is absolutely dangerous. They can put up goals like nothing.
They showed that.
They showed us that last week, of course. But so basically, after RSL was up 2-0 after 22 minutes. And then Portland in the second half tied it up by the 76th minute with goals from Anthony and Evander. Of course, who else? And then RSL thought that they had won it with a 90th minute goal by new signing Diogo Gonçalves, until Rodriguez amazingly scores off of a last minute header in the 92nd minute. Another header, but it was kind of like a hopeful cross. It was like, all right, let me just put it in the box and see what happens. And he got on the end of it. But man, like, and by that point, I was like, okay, Rob, this is our season, man. The stars are aligning. We're going to get this number one seed. We just need to be the home version of the LA Galaxy, and we will put ourselves in the driving seat. And then, so I feel like the players would have known the results in the locker room before they stepped out on the pitch, right before national anthem and all that good stuff. So I was already feeling good coming into this game, and just glad they pulled out the 3 points at the end, man. But yeah, crazy stuff just in the lead up to this game and the implications I had for the Galaxy.
Marvin's doing his thing today in chat because a very valid point. LAFC became a victim to a crazy schedule this year, which is valid right now. They're going through it, having to play every 3 or 4 days. I still believe they should have built the team around Chicho and not Vela. I absolutely agree with that one. Look what Chicho's doing in RSL, and if he had the cast around him at LAFC, but let's thank God that Thornton did not have the foresight to do that. Eli Koloff says, do you guys know if there's a trophy for the West Conference and if LA Galaxy can lift it at the last home game, if that was certain? I don't believe for winning the conference in like the table, but I think you have to win the Western Conference in the finals, in the playoffs rather, and you get a trophy. So hopefully the Galaxy get that far and they win that trophy. But even if they win that trophy, it's something we've been saying all year, job's not done. So that's just one step away from job being done. But anyway, man, we saw what happened in these games, that Miami game, that LAFC versus Dallas game, and that Portland versus RSL game. And you're right, it was a cracker of a match. I saw the highlights and I was like, eesh, what a game to actually be at, right? But the Galaxy knew, or I don't know if, well, we do know. We asked Greg if he was scoreboard watching, and he said no, but I'm sure the boys were scoreboard watching a little bit. So the Galaxy kind of knew that they had the advantage and how to take care of business going into this match. So this game became even more important for them to win, so they could cement that 1 seed in the Western Conference and home field advantage. And it, like we said at the top of the show, they came out and they took care of business. Ananda, what did you say was your one-word reaction?
Routine performance at home.
Routine performance, but you know what? It was a record-setting night. It was a historic night. Playing the second of 2 matches in the span of 4 days, the Galaxy earned a 4-2 win at the Digs over Vancouver Whitecaps in front of a sellout crowd. The 3 killer Ps, Joseph Painso, Riqui Puig, and Gabriel Peck, each got a goal as the Los Angeles Galaxy extended its lead atop the Western Conference. They're tightening their grip, just like Mamba would like them to 7 points ahead of second place Real Salt Lake. And like I said, it was a historic night. The Galaxy are the first team in MLS history with 4 players to have scored 10 or more goals in the same season. Decky has 14. JP has 10, Gabriel Pecky has 13, and Riqui Puig, the prince who was promised, has 11. They're now just the second team in MLS history to have 3 players record 10-plus goals and 10-plus assists in the same season, joining their brethren, the 1998 Los Angeles Galaxy, who had Mauricio Cienfuegos, we talked about him at the top of the show, Kobe Jones, and Welton. Cien had 13 and 16. Kobe had 19 and 13. And Welton had 17 and 11. These DPs have now combined for 71 goals and assists, Ananda. Additionally, Paintsell and Peck are the first ever pair of teammates to record 10 and 10 in their inaugural season. I mean, remember what was going on with the DP situation last year?
Just absolute debauchery. Yeah, it's funny too because Josh always puts up those DP utilization starts. I mean, it's over 80% this year, Robert. That's insane for especially in the last 10 years, the tracker that we have. So again, massive credit goes out to Will Kuntz and the front office and the scouting department for building this team in the right way in the new MLS. And there we go. They hit it out of the park. Hit it absolutely out of the park.
It's funny that you said debauchery in relation to the previous DPs because Douglas Costa has an OnlyFans now. So in case you were a Douglas Costa fan, go check out that OnlyFans.
Good old Dougie.
Good. Yeah, that's definitely him being Douglas again. There was a couple of weeks there where he fooled us into thinking he was Doug, but he's back to Douglas. The Bears were who we thought they were. Anyway, this game was kind of tight at the beginning, Ananda. My thoughts there at the beginning were like, there's not a lot of space to work with, and normally with that 3 in the back, the Galaxy have a little bit more room, at least on the wings, and Vancouver was doing a good job of keeping it tight. But eventually, the cream rises to the top. Peck would get the lucky bounce off of a rebound and put the first goal away, and as if they weren't lucky enough, La Suerte del Campeón was with them. Sebastian Borhalter unlucky to concede the own goal for the Galaxy's second, and that's how they would go into the half. No, my bad. Vancouver got one right there at the end of the first half, but Galaxy did really well to strike back and get the third. That one was Joseph Paintsill, who got the assist from Gabriel Pecci, who turned provider. Gabriel Pecci, of course, really quick. Ananda made the team of the week. First Galaxy player to win player of the week. So shout out to him. Of course, Vancouver would get a late go back in the 98th minute, but it was too late to influence proceedings, and that was after Riqui Puig capped off the evening with the Galaxy's fourth off the second Gabriel Peck assist. Man, it was 4-2, Ananda, but I don't really feel like it was that close. Like 4-2 is kind of generous. Anyone who sees 4-2 is like, oh, the Vancouver scored 2 goals,
Yeah,
but I really don't think like it was that close. Like the last goal, John McCarthy should have done better on, and I feel like they should have done better on Vancouver's first goal as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say too, because you talked about sort of that first 10-15 minute opening exchange. I thought that was a little interesting. The one thing that I notated in that was we couldn't get in our own half, right? And that's because of the way Vancouver's plays. That's their sort of the way they set up formation wise as well. They flood that midfield. They had 5 in midfield, Rob. So it's going to be very, very hard for the Galaxy to get out. But this is one of the things that I want to see in the playoffs too, which is, and Greg words it in the way of the ability to find solutions. And I think throughout the 10, sort of after that 10-15 minute mark, we started to, and I don't know if this was a call from Greg or a call from one of the captains or the midfielders or Marco, whatever they were seeing on that pitch, but they made that slight adjustment. We've seen it before, but Mickey tucks into that midfield, created sort of a double pivot, created another outlet. And we're going to talk about this guy later, but credit to Emiro Garces in particular. He started, instead of passing side to side, he started passing vertically through the lines and trusting that his players like Marco Reus, Riqui Puig, whoever was on the end of that receiving pass had a good first touch that could take away the defender, and they were off. And once that happened, that completely opened the game. And so
they would be there.
And this is a good sign to see, man. Going into the playoffs now, you're going to have certain moments to start games where you might not be tactically sort of where you need to be, but you need to persevere and find the solutions. And I actually wrote down a thing because, again, I had the pleasure of having Joe Tatino on that call. Again, I was not in the stadium, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy having Joe and listening to him be on that call. And he's always so astute, man, with his observations, but he made one very, very astute observation, which is once we make that sort of side to side flat pass, he called it, from center back to center back, that allows now us to invite pressure from Vancouver, and just one little mistouch, one little bobble from our center backs, and you saw him just pounce right on them. So it was hard for us to get out because we kept going sideways and backwards and not through the lines, but trying to be overly safe. And Vancouver is just sniffing around for that loose touch. And I think that was a very, very good observation made by Joe. But once we made that adjustment, a slight tactical shift positioning wise, and breaking the lines with those vertical passes, we started to open up the game, and that's how we got those first 2 goals, man. So again, credit to the team, whether it was Vanney or the leaders on the pitch, credit to the team for finding a solution. Wanted to call that out.
Yeah, well, the Galaxy, I'm not going to say they dominated this match, but they like I mentioned at the top of the show, I feel like they took care of business. They did what they needed to do. They took advantage of the rivals misstepping, and they went out and got all 3 points at home like they should have. Only kind of like what's the opposite of a silver lining, Ananda? Like only bad part about this game, I guess, is that Royce would leave the game in the 66th minute after feeling some hamstring tightness. Greg did tell us in the presser that it was precautionary and he didn't want to risk it. Of course, they're hoping that 10 days off will help Marco get ready for the next match. But Ananda, let's go ahead and start where we always start, with the lineup. Of course, the big one here, like you mentioned, was Emiro Garces.
Yeah, man. And we'd been teasing it sort of coming into this match, right? That he could get the start, and he did ultimately get the start. And, I've seen a lot of chatter post-match that, that the night of, the morning of, and even up until today, just sort of, looking at Emiro now, and should he be that starting center back? Look, as I always tell you, I'm not looking at this necessarily from who starts. I'm looking at this as the full 11 and who comes off the bench and the full team as a whole, right? So what this tells me, though, is, man, we've got some really, really good center backs, not only for now, but also for the future. And we've got some depth now coming off that bench, which in certain situations in the playoffs, you might have to call on that depth. And it's just nice to be looking at that bench and say, okay, we've got guys that can step up and do a job in certain moments and against certain opposition, right? So, of course, that was the big call, I think, on the LA Galaxy side. But on the Vancouver side, I was listening to, so shout out the Nag boys. I was listening to them a little bit on Sunday night. And Rob, one of the things I think that was very surprising from the Vancouver side is the lineup that they played. Again, you called it out a little bit earlier. They had I think a Canadian championship or Canadian Cup, something like that, that they were preparing for this upcoming week. So they played a very, very weakened side, the likes of Ryan Gall, the likes of Pico, like, your normal mainstays for Vancouver. We did not see them in this match. So I think that was a surprise. And I think that was, of course, advantage Galaxy. But again, you can only play what's in front of you. And we had to take them seriously because we've said it pre-match, right? Vanney Sartini's teams are well drilled, well coached. You can plug and play any pieces that you want. They will play the same exact style. And I think they've done a great job recruiting as well, because the guys that they came in, even some of these young guys, I mean, if you're not careful, they can pounce on you, and they got some quality. So I think that was a surprise, and I think that was an advantage to us. I mean, but again, we can only play what's in front of us, right? So just glad that we did not drop. What have we said before about this team, Rob? Like, we always drop to the level of the competition. We did not in this match. I think we realized the importance of getting the 3 points at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Galaxy got a lucky break there. Definitely. This one could have been, Ryan Gall, Fava Pico to start. Instead, we, got Levante Johnson, no shade to him, and Brian White, who, to be fair, is a wonderful striker. But yeah, this. You mentioned that, they're plug and play, but there's still that issue of continuity, so despite these players being very capable of plugging in, there's still that continuity of the collective not playing together, and the Galaxy took advantage of it, took care of business, and again, did what they needed to do. And really quick, Ananda, just got a message from our good friend Melvin Rocker. That's at Melvin Rocker on X, guys. He wanted me to announce that he has 2 tickets for tomorrow's open practice, and was wondering who would like to go. He is not
nice.
available. So that's tomorrow's open practice at the digs. And go ahead and hit up at Melvin Rocker if you want to go ahead and hit up that open practice at the digs.
Very nice.
Yeah. So at Melvin Rocker, guys, 2 tickets for the open practice. Anyway, Ananda, yeah, we got lucky on this one, but like we've said a couple times already, you got to play what's in front of you. And the Galaxy did. They get the win, and now they have an unbeaten record at home of 12-0-3, 10 consecutive league matches where they've won. They've outscored their opponents 29-13 in that span. They've recorded 3 or more goals 12 times in the MLS season, and 16 games played at home. Peck has totaled 20 goal contributions, 10-10. Riqui has recorded a goal or an assist in 12 consecutive home matches. And again, like we did mention, Peck makes the team of the match day. Riqui makes the bench, and Gabriel Peck also wins the player of the match day. So, there's so many weapons on this team now, and it's wonderful. I mean, you look at the team, and no longer the conversation is what's the starting 11, but like who is going to finish the match? What weapons do they have to finish the match? And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful luxury to be able to bring on someone like Mark Delgado, as a sub, or Diego Fagundes as a sub, because these guys, by all intents and purposes, are starters, So
yeah. Gaston, Julian Aude, the list goes on and on, right?
I can't wait to see. Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see what Wilkins does even in the next window. I mean, it's gonna be crazy, man. It's gonna be. Hopefully, he gets the Galaxy to like Columbus level, because I was watching them earlier, and man, Jackson is just going nutty over there, and there's like, when they picked up Jackson, it was one of those things like the rich got richer, like they didn't need Izio Jackson. Send Izio Jackson to Los Angeles, But anyway, just I feel it, man. Just one transfer window away from being that potent. But anyway, Nanda, one of the things we spoke about with Marcelo Balboa, Cello, is the defense, and he alleged that there was no problem with the defense. That the defense was in first place, or the team was in first place. And he said that the big fix here was playing with pride. Well, I definitely believe that this team played with that requisite pride against Vancouver. Allowed only 2 shots on goal, 26 clearances. McCarthy was at fault for the last goal, however, like we brought up, and it's just really, really encouraging to see them play that way. But before we go any further, do you want to go ahead and bring us the stats that brought us this victory?
Yeah, let's just kind of round it out. I did want to point out a couple of very interesting things in terms of the box score, the box summary, but possession wise, we dominated the game per the usual, 60 to 40%. Expected goals 1.51 for the LA Galaxy, and then 1.26 for the Whitecaps. Couple things I want to point out though, which is interesting. Shots on target, we dominated that match, man. We had the more higher quality chances, 8 shots on target versus their 2. Interesting thing though is they had 2 big chances and we only had 1. So even though we had a lot of shots on target, no real clear cut chances. But man, when you're finishing at that high of a level, you looked at some of those finishes, especially like the Gabi finish. I mean, we are, especially Gabriel Peck, man, his confidence is through the roof right now. And I feel like when you get him inside that penalty box, I feel like he can just about 1 out of 2 finish that chance off every single time. So really, really good to see there. But from the away team, the shots from inside the box, we had the same number of shots inside the box, Robert. So I think that's a watch out for the Galaxy. We don't want to concede that many shots inside the box. I think we have to be careful. I think we have to be careful on that as we face more sort of opposition and tougher opposition. And here's the one thing that's, again, more of a watch out, right? And I always I mean, look, the rest of the box score is what you see in a typical Galaxy win, what you see in a typical Galaxy performance. But here's the thing, Rob, and this is sort of a minute detail, but it's some of these details that we'll talk about that Greg Vanney has now sort of he has acknowledged as to see where's the next frontier for this team. And that's crosses and corners won. We conceded 26 crosses, Rob, in this game. And guess what? Their 2 goals came off of crosses, right? Surprise, surprise. When you put in that many crosses, you're bound to sort of get one of those, get someone at the end of those, putting the ball in the back of the net. So I think, again, this is a notice for our fullbacks, a notice for our midfielders. We've got to cut out the service. That's the number one rule, right? We've got to cut out the service from those wings position. And, just do better in dealing when those crosses come in with those clearances, right? I think you wanted to say something, Rob, or you wanted to make an observation or something.
Yeah, it's like we talked about in the last pod. Takaoka doesn't make a lot of saves because he doesn't face a lot of shots, right? So in the same way, like if the Galaxy can cut out these crosses, they will not concede off crosses because the cross isn't coming in. So anyway, just correlation there.
Yeah, I think we just have to be careful in the playoffs. If we play a team that will put in crosses, we just got to be careful of that, because we saw that, even in a dominant game, we could still give up 2 easy goals and cheap goals. And here's the other thing too, Rob. I talked about corners won, right, as a stat and showing just the level of aggression. Now, granted, I think these are a little inflated because the Galaxy finished off a lot of our chances, but the fact that we conceded 12 corners and the fact that they scored basically off of one, what do we say, Rob? To limit the threat of the corner, you got to limit the actual number of corners that the opposition takes, right? So that's just one of those things that we've got to continue to work on, that, be better at that, and try to minimize being in those precarious positions of where we know the Galaxy is weak. Transition defense, set pieces, or corners, right? That we've said that all year. So let's try to limit those opportunities as much as possible. And I think Greg knows that heading into the playoffs.
I feel like a parrot at this point. All year. Oh yeah. Yeah, man. It's like, it's let's be honest here. The defense is not as statistically bad as like everyone gets on the team for. It is the weak point of the team, but it's reached almost like mythical proportions now, where you have players on other teams like talking about how they don't like to defend. Israel Barragan, thank you so much for the shout out. Thank you for tuning into this pod. We appreciate it. Yeah, man. So it's well known all around the league. I mean, they talk about it on MLS, on Apple TV, and everywhere pretty much. So Greg knows it, the players know it, and that's why it was really heartening to see them play with that requisite pride, where even though they allowed 2 goals and allowed a bunch of crosses, there was only 2 shots on goal. You brought up Emiro Garces and in his first start. Greg says a lot of good things about him, but what did you see in his first start?
Oh man, let's just start with the stat line. Amazing stat line for his first start. Led the team with 6 recoveries, Rob. Led the team with tackles 1 and 2. He had 74 completed passes. That was 4th most in the team. But again, it wasn't so much side-to-side passing. He started hitting those vertical passes. I remember one play in particular. He hit Marco Royce. Marco Royce was calling it. Hit a peach of a ball. He broke about 2 lines, and Marco was off, and we were off in that transition. If I'm not mistaken, it set up the first Gabriel Peck chance, the one that he missed, or the one that the keeper saved. But that was, we started to figure out, okay, that's what we need to do against this sort of the way that Vancouver was setting up, right? But I've said it before, man, on this pod, but you can't teach athleticism. His brute force, his speed, his recovery speed, those are things where if you talk about the LA Galaxy being a bad transition team, this is a guy that can make up for that deficiency, right? It's that athleticism. Again, you can't teach it. So the way you minimize that risk is to get personnel that can, if you get caught in a bad spot, you've got that 1v1 ability defensively, and he's one of the few guys right now on this team that can show it, right? Jalen hasn't really showed that consistently. He has showed it, but not consistently yet. And Maya, of course, we know that he's more of a scanner. He's more of a true center back, a true sweeper. He'll sweep, he'll mop everything up, he'll clear, he's good with those defensive headers. But this guy, Garces, man, what a talent. And I tweeted about it yesterday. We've got two very, very promising center backs for the future, Robin, and Jalen Neal and Emiro Garces.
Yeah, I mean, I was seeing a bunch of chatter saying, Emiro Garces over Jalen Neal over Emiro Garces, and you know what? I'm just dreaming of a day when they get to line up together in the back line. I mean, I'm dreaming of a day when the back line is Mal Cuevas, Garces, Jalen Neal, and Aude, and them being this back line for the Galaxy for 3 or 4 years running and growing together. But this concept of playing with pride in the defense and the collective, just saying, okay, like, we're known for our offense, now we need to take pride in our defense. One of those things is everybody taking part in that. And one of the things that even Maya brought up was Riqui tracking back on defense, who Eli brought that up just a moment ago. Riqui running all the way back and preventing a serious chance. Yep. Yeah, Maya called it out too. He said, and I never seen that. I never seen Riqui running all the way back and playing defense. And then he laughed, and then we all laughed in the press box too. Yeah, so I mean, it's infectious, man. Like, when you see your teammates busting butt to give everything for the shirt, that's infectious, and it trickles down, and you see it with people like Riqui now too, getting back on defense. I mean, things you thought you'd never see in 2024, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it was a record-breaking night at the Digs. Of course, we already talked to you about it, but I mean, the DPs and Dayon are powering this team. I got an interesting question from somebody the other night. Would I take Riqui or would I take Gabriel Pecci? And I think at this point, I got to take Pecci, man. I mean, he's been absolutely crucial to this team. We saw that he took the team on his back when Riqui was out, and the Galaxy did win all 4 games when Riqui was out. And so thankfully we live in a world where we don't have to pick. We get them both, but it's wonderful that you have these DPs stepping up, because like we mentioned, the alternative was last year was Douglas Costa and Chicharito. Between them last year, they had 12 goal contributions. Gabriel Pecci has 12 assists by himself this year. So that's the difference there for you guys is the production. And lo and behold, you have DPs that produce. You have a team that is in first place. So these record breakers here: Riqui Puig, Gabriel Pecci, Dejan Joveljic, and Joseph Painstill, who, by the way, they need to start playing a song again back in the stadium.
Yeah.
I've been missing it, man. But anyway, these are your record breakers right here. It's amazing that they're setting these personal records. But again, Ananda, job's not done. And I think that Greg, by his comments in the presser, knows that. He knows that this job isn't done, and he knows that this team still needs to improve a couple things to become elite. Ananda, I believe you have a clip of Greg talking about a championship mentality.
Let me pull that up right now, guys.
We don't execute on the pass, but I felt like we left a lot on the table over the course of the night that keeps an opponent in the game, and it makes the game tough. Yeah, so I mean, we got through it tonight, and always the third game in a busy week. You gotta do what you gotta do in some ways. But for us, again, a lot of the discussion is trying to continue to set like championship type of behaviors. I think when we're talking about closing out games, when you have a goal lead or a 2-goal lead, making sure that we're making championship decisions because we're going to have to when it really gets down to it. And I think we need to be thinking about that way now. And sometimes we cheat the defensive moment, we wait for the transition, and then we score, and so it looks like it's okay, but it's not okay. So those.
He's not wrong.
You heard it from the man. I love that. I love that. I as soon as I heard that, I was like, Rob, we've got to pull it up on the show because, again, going back to, it's funny because this now sort of ties into the extension talk and all that stuff. And man, like I love hearing that from our head coach because, like you said, it sort of harkens to the notion of jobs not done, right? He knows there's another level for this team. He knows what it takes, Rob, to win MLS championship. He's done it. He's done it before with another team, right? So he knows what it takes and he knows how hard it is and he knows the things that you have to perfect to get to that next level. And yes, this is quote unquote year one of the rebuild, but man, like we're so close, Rob. And you know, we've shown that we are a good regular season team, that we're one of the top regular season teams. Now we've got to show that next step. Can we be a cup team and be an MLS Cup winning team? And that's all for Greg to do. But I love the mentality now going in to those set of fixtures, right?
No, he absolutely knows that the job's not done and that the team can hit another level. I actually asked him about this. I mean, the Galaxy if they win their last 3 matches, they would finish on 67 points, which is the Galaxy's historical best points total ever. So they would tie the 2011 Galaxy, who got 67 as well. That team won MLS Cup. And when I asked Greg about this, you know, he said, you know, I'm not going to minimize that. That's great, but you know, those teams won titles. Those teams won championships. So at the end of the year, no one's going to remember that this team ended up on 67 points if they fall short of winning MLS Cup. So I think that, you know, based on Greg's comments that you guys heard, based on what he told us, yeah, he's very cognizant of the fact job's not done. We need to cut out these silly mistakes like these 2 goals that we gave up. All the bread we left on the table. All the bread we left on the table. You could tell that what I love about it is you could tell that, like, as happy as he was about the win, he was super annoyed with the goals they gave up and with the opportunities that they left. I mean,
I love that attitude.
This is the team that probably could have scored 6 or 7. Yeah, I mean, at the start of the year, this team was being called killers. They called themselves killers. Joseph Paintel said, "We're killing teams," you know. And for a little bit, there was this kind of like move away from that, and you know what, they need to get that back again. I mean, you've seen you know, players like Marco Royce not taking shots in good areas. You know, they need to start pulling the trigger, start being clinical, start being cutthroat. And those are like the fine-tuning things that Greg is talking about. So hopefully they'll get to it before playoffs.
4 goals, pretty clinical to me though, Baba. At least the other night, at least this Saturday night, right?
Yeah, but there, like Greg said, there was still stuff left on the table. So imagine if they had gotten everything, you know, it would have been like 6 or 7 to 2. You know, that's a lot more palatable than 4-2. And this game was 2-1 at one point when it shouldn't have been. Luckily, and this is my moment of the match, the Galaxy get a 3rd goal very quickly after Vancouver gets their first and kind of kills this one at 3-1. JP's goal was my moment of the match. Like I said, it kind of killed Vancouver's momentum and volition to keep fighting in this one. The Galaxy's official moment of the match was for Emiro Garces, who had his first league start. Of course, he did start in that Galaxy Chivas match at the Digs earlier this year, but this is his first start in MLS. First 90-minute game for him, and for that, he wins the Lars Man of the Match. Congratulations to him. Of course, he is one of our defending the badge nominees, and we have 4 nominees here for you guys. We have Riqui Puig, the prince who was promised.
Doing
Riqui
the moonwalk.
Yeah, well, really quick, since you brought it up, in the pantheon of Riqui celebrations, where's that one on there for you?
I like the Matador one, man. The Matador, especially against those guys up to 110, that was nice. I like that one. I'm a fan.
Yeah, definitely. Toreando. Well, this one is cool too. Bringing back that MJ moonwalk. I like it. So 26 passes into the final third, 1 block, 1 interception, 3 recoveries, 5 duels. He was fouled 4 times. Of course, Joseph Painso is another nominee for you guys. He had a goal, 4 total shots, 2 chances, created 3 recoveries and 2 duels. And we spoke about Emiro Garces already, and his fine stat line for the night. We'll end there with Gabriel Peck, who had a goal, 2 assists, 5 total shots, 4 chances created, 1 interception, 5 recoveries, and 2 duels won. Like we said, earned some MLS Match Day player. Ananda, do you have a defending the badge winner for the week?
Yeah, let me pull those guys up. I don't want to be, what do I always say, Robert? I don't want to be a contrarian for being contrarian's sake. So I got to give it to Gabriel Peck, man. Like, he won. He was recognized by the league as the MLS, match day player. Just what a performance. And I'm so happy for our friend Gustavo, who is a Vasco da Gama fan. He got to see one of Gabriel Peck's. Would you argue this was his best game in an LA Galaxy shirt, Robert? I would argue that as well. Just he was the guy that was going to unlock that defense. Every time the ball came to him, I knew something good was going to happen. And man, just like I think about his progression, Rob, from his first game that he played for us until now, and he is, I'm just scared to lose him potentially to a European team in a couple of years, right? He is that good. He's got that much of a ceiling. And it's funny too, because I watched, side note, I don't want to get too far into this, but I watched a little bit of Nottingham Forest game over the weekend, and Ramon Sosa
Off the rails again.
And Ramon Sosa played in that game, and he actually scored in that game, and he looked pretty good as well. But now think about this for a second, right? Ramon Sosa got signed directly to Nottingham Forest, an EPL team. And I think talent-wise, Gabriel Peck he's shown a little bit more up to this stage. So it's just crazy, his potential, right? We know that is his potential, and just let's enjoy him while we have him, LA Galaxy fans. And, I hope he can help us lead us to a couple pieces of silverware for sure. But Gabriel Peck for me, man, all day.
I'm not going to disagree. I mean, sometimes I'm contrarian for contrarian's sake. No beating around the bush on this one. Gabriel Peck is mine as well. And he was the people's champion as well. After 92 million votes out there, Gabriel Peck is your winner with 46% of the vote. We do have Israel in chat saying, thanks, fellas. So would you guys be down to plan a live show at the Gas Rub in Compton during the playoffs?
Hey, there you go.
Thank you so much for the invitation. And yeah, man, let's start planning something up. We would love to accept the invitation, because the alternative, as you heard earlier on the show, is Miggy Grease trying to have us do a show at Applebee's. So thank you so much, man. Yeah, we'll connect and we'll make it happen. Israel, gracias a ti. Gracias. But the Galaxy, after this win, still in first place. Of course, everyone knows it. We've been shouting it from the rooftops. LA Galaxy fans are not letting anybody out there forget it. LA Galaxy are in first place. Through 31 matches, they have a 17-7-7 record, 63 goals for, 46 against, on 58 points, 1.87 points per game at the moment. We did talk about their rivals earlier in the pod. The Galaxy currently 7 points ahead of number 2 RSL, who has 1 game in hand, 8 points ahead of number 3 Colorado, who has 1 game in hand. Shout out to Colorado, by the way.
Yeah, what a surge.
Yeah, well, I mean, they were in similar territory as the Galaxy last year. In 13th, the Galaxy, and then Colorado was, I believe, in last place, and they've both qualified for the playoffs. Colorado's in 3rd place. Definitely wasn't a fan of him when he was with United, but Chris Armas has done wonders over there in Colorado. So shout out to him and the Colorado boys for making the playoffs. Of course, that'll be the Galaxy's next opponent, so I don't want to send them too many good vibes. But the Galaxy now 9 points ahead of number 4 LAFC, who still have 2 games in hand. And of course, the Galaxy are now have a little bit of a lifeline, Ananda, in that supporter shield race, right? Because as we brought to you a little bit earlier, the Inter Miami tied with NYCFC. So now the Galaxy just 6 points back in that supporter shield race. Inter Miami has 1 game in hand. And what's interesting about that race is that Columbus and Miami play each other. So a big 3 points on the line there, Ananda. The opportunity for whoever takes the other out in that one. The Galaxy basically comes out a winner on that one, because if it's Miami that wins, they keep Columbus off the Galaxy's back, and then if it's Columbus that wins, they get a boost there in the supporter shield race. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that match. Of course, they're actually 2 points ahead of Cincinnati, 2 points ahead of Columbus. Columbus 2 games in hand. Cincinnati 1 game in hand. There was a question in the press, in the press conference afterwards, just amongst us reporters, Ananda. Which team are you kind of more afraid of in the East? And pretty much overwhelmingly, it was Columbus. So
I agree.
I agree. That should tell you something. So Ananda, a quick look at the West race, if you'd be so kind.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just flashing on the screen, guys.
As y'all know.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, as y'all know, guys, the LA Galaxy have 3 games left, and they pretty much are in charge of their own destiny. Ananda, go ahead and hit them up with the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, I just flashed it on the screen there, but it's just interesting to see. We're 7 points ahead, right? Especially for of the closest sort of challengers. And I mean, schedule wise, look, that Colorado LA game, I'm gonna put my neck out on the line, Rob, and I'm gonna say if we win that game, we get all 3 points. I think we've pretty much sewn it up, man. I feel, because if I look at sort of the games that LAFC and RSL have to play, for example, I mean, LAFC have to play Cincinnati after their US Open Cup final, right, this week, which is pretty nuts. RSL, look, they still have to play a Minnesota team who are still fighting to get in the playoffs, and they still have to play Vancouver, right, who's sort of fighting for a playoff seat. I think probably RSL, again, depending on what our result is at Colorado, I think probably RSL is going to be our closest challengers. But it's going to be interesting, man. Like, it's, on paper, yes, you can kind of guess, but look, I say at least if we take care of that home game, that's 3 points in the make. That's going to be huge. And, keep the digs of fortress, right? And if we get, I would say, 1 point or so ish from the road, I think that should just be enough. But again, we've got to sort of control our own destiny here, and we've got to look ahead to our next match against Colorado, but as we saw this weekend, anything can happen in this league. Anything can happen in the West. Teams are taking points off of each other because there's playoff seedings and there's playoff implications on the line. So every point matters to these teams, man. So there's no easy games down the stretch, no matter who you're playing.
And more to the point, I saw something out there that is very true. Some of these players that, like, even if they're not on playoff teams, they're playing for their jobs, man. So
yeah,
even some teams that aren't playoff teams, they're gonna want to come out and show well, because they're like, damn, I'm in a contract here. I need to play my ass off so I can get a contract, or go to another team. So yeah, man, it's the silly season of the campaign. The thing about it is that the Galaxy are in the driver's seat. They're in control of their own destiny. They have 9 points available. I'm calling if they get 7 of those 9, they wrap up the number 1 seed in the West. I definitely think to keep some of that pressure off of them, they need to win Colorado. At the very least, not lose. They need to pick up at least a point, get that win at home, and then if they don't win against Colorado, then yeah, they need to win on the final day of the season. So yeah, I'm thinking they need to pick up 7 and 9 personally, so they don't have to worry about anything else. They don't have to be like looking over their shoulder. If they pick up 7 of 9, they should be good. And yeah, I think that pretty much calls it for us, Ananda. Coming up, the Galaxy has 11 days off, or 10 days off before they go on the road again. We did call that their next opponent would be Colorado. It is the final midweek regular season game away at Colorado, Wednesday, October 2nd at 6:30 p.m. The last match was a 3-2 Galaxy home win on July 17th. And of course, we'll be bringing you that Colorado preview pod on Monday, September 30th. Go ahead and check that one out. Ananda, do you have anything to add before we get on out of here?
No, just want to say thank you again to chat. And like Rocio said, yeah, these next weeks are going to be crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's I can't believe MLS playoffs are almost here. MLS Cup playoffs are almost here. And, you know, the Galaxy, just be proud of your team, guys. The Galaxy are in a really, really good position. I think a position that none of us would have predicted heading into the season after the misery that we had last season.
Nadie.
But be proud of your team, be proud of your front office, be proud of your head coach, just be proud of everyone that's involved in this organization. You know, it usually takes a village, right, to build these things. So just be proud and sort of savor this moment. And we have a lot, I think, to look forward to as Galaxy fans. So I'm just going to leave it at that. We got 10 days of rest. Let's rest up. Hopefully we can see the likes of Julian Aude, right, get some minutes in the next game. We can start, you know, kind of building around the depth that we've talked about, man. But no, I just wanted to thank everyone in chat. You guys brought it per the usual. And yeah, just like I flashed on the screen, go ahead and sub to our YouTube channel if you like what you're listening to. And of course, you can always support and donate to the show at buymecoffee.com/La Cuna Galaxiana. Get Robert his strawberry horchata fun, guys. Get it.
Yeah, man, and you know, just personally for me and Ananda and our producer Riqui, we want to say thank you so much for doing what you do in chat and giving us all the support that you do. It really does fill us with the energy to you know keep on doing the show, man. So thank you so much for everything that you guys do. Eli, we're looking forward to the next one too, and thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out. We will be bringing you guys on Thursday Comets Presley, Lars Presley. So we have a good one for you on Thursday. And then, of course, we're hopefully lining up a huge one for you guys. As soon as it's all locked in, we'll go ahead and drop you that information. If you're here, it's because you found us on youtube.com/@La Cuna Galaxiana. Thank you so much for doing so. Put someone on. Go ahead and hit that subscribe. And, man, I'm going to miss you guys because there's no LA Galaxy soccer for the next 10 days. But I'm sure we'll find something to occupy our time with, and LA Galaxy news in Galaxylandia to go ahead and fixate on. So until we meet again, La Cuna Galaxians, LA Galaxy fans, wherever you may be, les deseamos mucho amor y cariño and bendiciones. Jesus.